Welcome to a KeySmash Studios tutorial. In this video, we're going to be starting on our UI, and the part that we'll be covering today will be the prompt that will be displayed on the screen whenever we go into an interaction area. As you're watching, if you find this video helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our My Character script, and we're going to create a new property that's going to hold the interaction type that we're currently inside. So we want this to be public. So we're going to go ahead and do uProperty. And then we want this to be blueprint read only. And the reason we're making this blueprint read only is so that way our widget can access this value and know what to display on the screen. So this is going to be an F string, and we're going to call it nearby interaction. So now we can go over to our CPP, and we're going to go ahead and give that variable a default. So nearby interaction, and we're going to make it equal to null. And the reason we're defaulting it to null is so that way in the beginning, the widget is aware that we're not inside an interaction area. So now we can go ahead and go down to our canInteract function. And this is where we're going to set the value for nearby interaction. So again, nearby interaction. And we're going to set it to the area. Again, the area parameter is the type of interaction that is taking place. In other words, chop, mine, or fish. So now we can go ahead and save this. And now we can go back to the scene. And we're going to go over to content. And we'll create a widgets folder. And then inside of this widget folder, we'll create a widget. So you go to user interface at the bottom, and then you click on widget blueprint. I'm going to name this prompt. And then we can go ahead and open it up. And then we're going to drag in a text. I'm going to anchor it to the center of the screen. You want to make sure that this is variable is checked. This allows us to get and set it inside of our widget graph. From there, I'm going to give it an X position of 0 and a Y position of 0, a size of 300 in the X, and a size of 100 in the Y. For the alignment, I'm going to give it a 0.5 in the X, so that way it's centered. And then for the text, I'm going to make this blank. Again, I don't want anything there in the beginning. I only want something to pop up and prompt the player whenever I've entered an interaction area. So I'm going to make it blank, and then I'm going to change the color to black because the colors of my scene are pretty light, and so black is easier to see than the white. And then I'm also going to make the justification center. And then finally, I'm going to go down to wrapping and do auto wrap text. And now that all of the details for this text are done, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my graph. And then inside of my graph, I'm going to use the event tick, so that way we can be checking if we've entered an interaction area. So the first thing I'm going to do off this is get a branch. And then our condition is going to be checking that nearby interaction area, so that way we can determine if it's null and therefore the text needs to be blank, or if it is not null and therefore the text needs to be telling our player to press to interact with the specific area. So in order to get that variable for that condition, we're going to do cast to my character. You're going to right click it and convert to pure cast, and then the object is going to be get player character. And we want the index to be 0. And then from here, we're going to drag this out, and we're going to get our nearby interaction. Actually, we're going to have to go back to the scene and compile first. Sorry, I forgot to do that. You have to compile in order for the blueprint to know that that is now a property inside of that class. So now that it's compiled, we can go back to our widget. And now if I pull out from as my character and do nearby interaction, I get the variable, and I'm just going to scoot this back a little. And now I'm going to pull this out and get an equals equals. I want to check if it is equal to null, and I want to give that as my condition. So again, what this is doing is getting my character that's in the scene. It's getting the variable of the nearby interaction, seeing if it's null, in other words, we're not in an area. And then if that is true, then we want to get our text, which we can drag out from over here and do get text block. And then we want to set text. And we're going to leave it blank. Again, if it's null, we want nothing to be on the screen. So we're just doing that. And that's all that's happening if our branch returns true. And then for false, in other words, it isn't null, we are inside an interaction area. We want to get the text block again. And again, we want to set the text. Except this time we want this text to be saying press F to do action. And so since we want the action to match what our nearby interaction is, we're going to create an append. And our A is going to be press F to space, and our B is going to be nearby interaction. And so if we walk into an interactable area for a tree, it'll say press F to chop. And then we want to take this return value and put it as the text. It'll auto add the conversion of string to text for us. And that's all we're going to be doing inside of our prompt widget. And again, this is the equivalent of an if statement, checking to see if our nearby interaction to my character is in fact null or not, and if it is, it makes the prompt on the screen blank, and if it's not null, then it prompts the player to press F for that specific interaction. So we can go ahead and compile and save, and the last thing we need to do is go up to Blueprints and open Level Blueprint. We're going to create an event begin play. And then what we want to do here is take our widget and set it to our viewport. So we're going to pull out from this and create widget. The class that we want it to be is the one we just created, so prompt. And then you need to set it to your viewport. So add to viewport, and then what we're wanting to add to viewport is the return value of that created widget. So that's all you need inside this to make sure that the widget is what's added to your viewport. So you can click compile and save, and then we'll go back to the scene and go ahead and play. So now if I walk over to the stone, you can see it says press F to mine. If I go over to the tree, it says press F to chop. And if I go over to this stone, it says press F to fish. And so as a recap, we created a variable that holds the type of interaction that we've just entered, so that way it can display and prompt the player to press F to do that action. The way we did this is by setting the value of that variable inside our canInteract function, which is called on begin overlap with our interaction area. So at that point, it will set it to the interaction area, and is called again on end overlap, which then sets it to null. So that way the prompt will go away once we've left the area. As always, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can join our Discord and ask them there. We do videos here every Wednesday and Saturday, but we also stream games on Twitch Monday through Wednesday, so if that interests you, be sure to check it out. On top of that, we've created an app in the Google Play Store called Blast Off, and we have an asset pack on the Unity store of kids' toys. So if any of those things interest you, or you'd like to support us in any of those ways, all of the links will be in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.